The sunset legislation that we considered is so important because oftentimes in government we start a program, we start some sort of department that is supposed to handle the problem, and we don't go back and check and see, number one, if it's being handled properly, if they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, what kind of resources they're expending to accomplish their goal. So having a constant review and constant pressure on making sure that every part of government is doing what they're supposed to be doing. And if they're not, if their mission has been accomplished, then really we need to get rid of it. And Texas has done this and saved billions of dollars. We need to look at the best ideas from other states like Texas with the sunset provision and incorporate those here in Georgia. We know this will work. This is a constant review of what government is doing and how the dollars are being spent. And this combined with zero-based budgeting and some sort of spending limitations, that's what the Senate wants to see. We're proud to support these fiscally conservative measures because that's what the taxpayers expect. For years, parents in Georgia have been looking at our education system, particularly our K through 12 education system, and recognizing that it's not meeting all the needs of all the students. And the only way for that to happen is to give parents more options, give students more choices, and what that really means is more opportunities. So a few years ago, the state created a charter school commission to look at state chartered schools. These, of course, are public schools, but they operate with great amounts of flexibility and parental involvement and sometimes even different missions. But they're public schools, which any student in Georgia can attend if there's one in their local community. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court made just a terrible decision and ruled that the state no longer has a role in public education. Kind of senseless. I don't think the average Georgian understands how bad that decision was, but those who've read the decision certainly do. So the state needs to come back and correct that. We've got to correct our Constitution. It requires a 2/3 vote in the House, a 2/3 vote in the Senate, and then, of course, approval by the voters. So what this charter amendment would do would say that the state can, in fact, be involved in the role of public education, and they can do so through the creation of state-chartered public schools. We think that is great public policy. It works all across the country, and it was working right here in Georgia. It was working perfectly well. We had a number of state-chartered schools that were doing extremely well. And because the decision by the Supreme Court, it kind of wiped those away, or certainly wiped away any long-term future for those schools, and we couldn't create any more. So this is very, very important, perhaps the most important thing we do this year, making sure that our children have options and opportunities at excellence in education. Okay. First of all, Karen, thank you for your question. This is an issue that has come up the last couple of years because Hope has kind of hit a spot where we've got to relook at the program. We did last year, and we want to thank the governor for his leadership on that. But we've got to make sure this thing is good for the long term because Hope has been one of the most successful, if not the most successful government program the state's ever done. So this is extremely important. But if we go to an income cap, if we begin treating these students not on merit, but on the wealth of their parents, we have fundamentally changed what the Hope Scholarship is about. The Hope Scholarship is about outstanding pupils, and we want to encourage pupils to do well in high school, to get good grades. The number of children who have strived to get that A in high school is in the millions, and the reason they do it is because they know that gives them the opportunity at a great post-secondary or college education. We don't want to take that away. So putting an income cap on it and telling children they're going to be measured by anything other than excellence in the classroom is just a terrible idea. It simply becomes another government handout program. That's not what Hope was about. That's not what Hope is. That's not what Hope should be about. It should always be about rewarding the very best and brightest in our schools.